I can't deny it anymore, can I? Fine. Here it is. Shadow the Hedgehog.
Yes, I've long denied this game's existence. I'll accept that Sonic 2006 happened. It happened on the 15th anniversary, making it a monumental milestone in Sonic's career that was going downhill as it was. But I consider it a necessary evil. It was a game that was needed to get Sonic back on track to where he used to be. Without Sonic 2006, we wouldn't have the day stages of Unleashed, Colors, and Generations. But Shadow the Hedgehog did not happen during an important time, so it was easy to forget.
Or in my case, dismiss its existence entirely.
Shortly after Sonic Heroes was released, Sega had posted a poll on their website, asking what Sonic character people would like to see get their own game, and Shadow won by a landslide. Of course Shadow was going to win. He was the new hotness, had a legion of fangirls swooning over him, pairing him up with Sonic in weird and disturbing fan art and stories.
I'm not saying that being a fan of something is bad or wrong. In fact, I encourage fan art and fan fiction, but there are some of you fans out there, and you know who you are, that like to take things to disturbing new levels.
I really think that poll was just an excuse to get people excited for this game. A game that they could easily fart out in a short amount of time. Well, it should have taken a short amount of time because look at this game. Does it look familiar? Well, it should because it's pretty much a recycled version of Sonic Heroes and not in a good way. One thing that's been recycled is the character models. They have that flat, non-textured color that's extremely shiny and it doesn't work. While I didn't care for it in Sonic Heroes, it at least worked with the bright and colorful graphics. But it doesn't work here. Everything is dark and gritty looking. Also, the old hero models don't look right in this game.
If you look at Shadow's model, then you look at Black Doom's model, they look like they're from completely different games. It's like putting an orange on top of a bushel of apples. You're gonna notice.
And they also recycled images from Sonic Adventure 2. All they did was just put a Photoshop filter over it, making it look like something from Instagram. Really? You took screenshots from your previous game and badly shopped them? Are you that lazy?
Oh wait, I can answer that! Yes they are, because all they did was recycle the Sonic Heroes game engine.
The game plays exactly like Sonic Heroes, only they removed the team-based mechanics and added in weapons, a physical attack that does dick, a sucky spin dash, and vehicles. Yes, I know this is going to be a very old joke, but what is this, Grand Theft Hedgehog? It's completely pointless and overcomplicates things. Sonic games, and yes, this is a Sonic game, and I'll talk about that in a bit, are supposed to be simple. Shadow gets a 1-2 punch then kick combo, and it sucks, and I don't mean that it sucks in the normal way. No, it sucks golf balls through straws sucks. It's worthless. The distance required to make contact is so short that you run the risk of actually touching the enemy, taking damage, and being knocked backwards instead of causing damage to your target. The homing attack doesn't even feel right. It's slow, slower than it was in Sonic Heroes. The spin dash is neutered. It doesn't go very far and lacks all the power that it had in the previous titles. You gain no speed from it and quickly lose all momentum. The sliding kick is alright, but controls pretty poorly.
And Shadow doesn't control any better either. If you've ever seen a deer walk across a frozen lake, it's kinda like that.
Shadow feels a little loose and slippery when he's on the ground. I feel that every little nudge of the analog stick will send me flying in any given direction. It's really bad in certain levels too, like Central City where you're tasked with running across a very narrow sidewalk while the streets are flooded with damage-causing goop. Or in Eggman's volcano base where touching the lava is instant death. But it's not as bad as Sonic Heroes, mainly because it's not constant bottomless pits.
Okay, that little rant is over, but it's time to dive deeper into this game.
When the game was first announced, I thought it was interesting, since it's not often a Sonic character gets their own game. Tails got 2 games on the Game Gear, Knuckles got 1 on the failed 32X, and that's really it. And Sonic Heroes brought Shadow back from the dead, but with amnesia. But the question remains, why didn't any of the other characters from Sonic Adventure 2 tell Shadow who he is? It's quite silly when you think about it. Rouge was Shadow's partner in Sonic Adventure 2. She would know who he is.
The other characters know that Shadow has amnesia. Either they don't care, or they think that not telling them is funny.
Yeah, in Sonic Heroes, Rouge thinks that Shadow is a robotic clone. Maybe that's why she didn't say anything. But at the end of Team Dark's story, Omega effectively confirms that the Shadow that's with them is the real one because he says, you know what they say about cloning, the original has to exist somewhere. And Omega would know that's the real Shadow because Eggman put him in that room to guard Shadow. Yeah, Omega says in the beginning that he must destroy all of Eggman's robots, but I'm willing to go with that he said that in a fit of rage. And after Rouge claims that she's going after the Master Emerald again, Shadow says that some things never change. He knows that Rouge loves jewels, something a robot would not know. Sonic and Shadow work together to save the world from the Ark crashing into it. Why didn't Sonic say anything? He doesn't know anything about this Shadow android stuff. There's even a photo of Sonic and Shadow in front of the White House on the president's desk. It makes you wonder if all the characters are just dicks that only care about themselves and no one else. And I have another question. How does Shadow know how to do Chaos Control and Chaos Blast? No one tells him that he can do that stuff, and even if it was instinctual, how does he know the name of these techniques?
Really, is Shadow just too stupid to ask anyone, or are all the other characters just dicks and won't tell him?
I'll come back to story elements later. But anyway, when I saw a picture of Shadow holding a gun, I stopped and thought about it. It's quite a different take on a Sonic game, but I thought that it wouldn't play much of an important role in the gameplay. But I was totally wrong. The weapons play a huge role in the combat as they've completely neutered the core Sonic style of gameplay. If we look at Sonic Heroes, the enemies had health bars because the combat system was built around it. You had a power formation that you could use to quickly dispatch hordes of enemies, and if you had the flight formation fully leveled up, the Thunder Shoot was overpowered and broken as hell. So no, you can't play this like a Sonic game that you're used to. And as I mentioned earlier, yes, this is a Sonic game. You can argue that it's not, but you're only deluding yourself. Yes, you play as Shadow and no one else, and Sonic makes a barely noticeable contribution to the game. But it takes place in the Sonic universe, and the last story is also canon to that universe. So yes, it's a Sonic game.
So don't deny it, it's not going to make the pain go away. That's what hard liquor's for! Down the hatch. I can feel the pain going away.
Because the usual Sonic game methods of attacking are gimped, they actually expect you to use the weapons. And for the most part, they work. The auto-aim will get you through most parts of the game with ease. But there's other weapons like bazookas or rocket launchers that have no auto-aim and require you to be very precise with your aim, otherwise you're going to miss. What sucks is that these weapons are the ones that you'll find quite often in the later stages. Yes, they do more damage, but if you can't hit your enemy, what's the point? And one thing that I find extremely silly is that the melee weapons have ammunition.
Hold on a second. Swords have ammunition? How do you reload a sword?
Why do things like swords need ammo? That's pointless. You pick up a sword and can only use it 5 times before you can't use it anymore. Are these things made out of plastic? I'm pretty sure a sword can last more than 5 swings before it breaks, or Shadow just gets bored with it and throws it away. But getting more ammo is more of a hassle than anything else. You either have to smash crates, or kill anything with a health bar to get it. But if you're using a weapon you like, guess what? You may not get ammo for the weapon that you want, so you're left with either the choice of switching weapons or conserving ammo and waiting for the next drop. You also have 2 bars at the top. Red is your evil energy that you fill by killing gun robots and personnel, and blue is your good energy for killing the aliens. When either of them is full, you can use Chaos Blast if your evil energy is full, resulting in an area effect explosion, or Chaos Control if your good energy is full and you can warp to a further part of the stage.
But when they're full, you get infinite ammo and you're invincible. That pretty much makes the Chaos powers completely useless.
They're useless because when you use the Chaos powers, it drains the meter faster. It's much more efficient to be invincible and shoot your way through. Chaos Control is only good if you want to get to the goal ring, and Chaos Blast is good for bosses. But you don't want to use those powers if you're trying to complete the Hero or Dark missions, and those are a whole other set of issues. Remember the Chaotix gameplay in Sonic Heroes and how it was all mission-based? Well, this is Chaotix gameplay 2, Electric Boogaloo with a Vengeance. Every stage has a mission, and it's either destroy, kill, or collect a certain number of objects or enemies. This gets so repetitive too. It's akin to grinding for XP in a JRPG. It gets really annoying when you have that one enemy or object that you need to get because you can't find it. That's where this game needs a map or a radar.
Considering how badly they screwed up the Emerald Radar in Sonic Adventure 2, I wouldn't trust them to do it again.
But a map would be a good thing, especially in Central City where it's a giant maze and you need to find the bombs to either suck them up or set them off, and having a time limit doesn't help either. This is probably the hardest level in the game because of how confusing it can be, as everything looks the same. And you have to do this crap 10 times. 10 times. 10 times. Do you hear me? 10 times if you want to unlock the last story and get the true canon ending. Having to go through this game so many times has me asking myself, why am I playing this? I'm only wasting my time. To get the full ending, you have to get all the other endings first, which is a long and tedious task. I could be doing other things right now, things that are a better use of my time, like seeing a movie, baking a cake, looking at some really shameful pornography, and I mean really, really shameful, like amputee toilet hardware handjob porn.
Yes, that actually does exist.
If it wasn't so repetitive, then it wouldn't be so bad. But I'm more bored than anything else. I don't find this game to be frustrating, but the fact that this game requires 10 playthroughs to actually complete the game, it's exhausting. I've only found one game-breaking glitch, that the game can and will freeze up. I've had this game lock up on me several times as I was playing it, and this isn't an isolated incident either. When I first got the game when it came out, I got it on the GameCube, and it would lock up on me sometimes and make an annoying screech. A friend of mine at the time had the Xbox version, and it locked up on him several times too, minus the screeching. And my girlfriend at the time also got this game for the PS2, and it locked up on her as well. The version that I'm playing now is the Xbox One, and it too locks up on me with no annoying screech, just like how it happened to my friend. In fact, it locked up on me so much to the point where I had to stop playing the game for a while just because I got frustrated on the 6th time it locked up on me.
Ironically, it only locked up on me when I was doing the hero missions. Almost as if it was trying to prevent me from seeing them.
So you have no idea how much of a pain it was to get all this game footage. When it would start to lock up, I would have to stop playing it and then go back to it the next day. I really wanted to see all the cutscenes, but they just all blend together as the intro to each stage is the same no matter which path you choose. For example, I start in Westopolis and complete the hero mission. I go to Lethal Highway and fail the hero mission and complete the dark mission instead. Then I go to Prison Island and the intro is the same as if I went full neutral. And because of this, the story is really inconsistent, and no matter which path you take, the ending is different depending on the mission you accomplish in the last stage, so your choices in the earlier stages have no effect on the endings.
And speaking of endings, there are short 30-second blips that all look the same. Really? That's our reward? Yeah, I really want to play the game 9 more times after seeing that.
It wouldn't be so bad if the stages and missions were short, but some of these stages can really overstay their welcome, sometimes clocking in at 20 minutes, just because you need to find that last hidden, barely seeable enemy to complete whatever task for whatever alignment you want to go for. It's either kill this many gun soldiers or that many black armed soldiers, or ignore them all just to get these endings. Number 1. Shadow wants to destroy the planet. Number 2. He wants to conquer the universe. Number 3. He'll serve Black Doom. Number 4. He decides to do whatever he wants and kills Eggman, which is an ambiguous ending. Number 5. He thinks he's an android copy of Shadow and is better than the original and kills Eggman. Number 6. He thinks he's an android copy of Shadow and decides to conquer the world for all androids and kills Eggman. Number 7. Decides to stay on the Ark to protect it from those who would use it for evil. Number 8. Considers himself a failed and dangerous experiment and walks away, which is another ambiguous ending. Number 9. Considers himself the most powerful hedgehog now that he has all the Chaos Emeralds. Again, ambiguous. Number 10. Keeps his promise to Maria to save the planet.
The last story more than likely continues off the pure hero ending because throughout the entire game, Black Doom doesn't really care if Shadow deliberately disobeys him.
Throughout the whole story, no matter what you do, when Black Doom enters the scene, he acts like Shadow never betrayed him. So I can only assume that Black Doom just doesn't care what Shadow does as long as he gets all the emeralds. But what doesn't make sense is that when you approach a Chaos Emerald, Black Doom or the other characters will tell you to leave it. Really? We're going to ignore the Chaos Emeralds, something that both the good and bad guys want? They'll say they'll get it later. Yeah, well, it may not be there later. I can imagine Black Doom saying to hold off on them because he's evil and his main goal is to make the humans suffer. But Sonic knows that the emeralds will come in handy, so why not collect them? Shadow is the only one concerned about the emeralds, because he can use them to uncover his past, which is his goal. The major part of a Sonic game is that if something bad is going down, get the Chaos Emeralds first and foremost because they cannot fall into the hands of the bad guys. It's just so out of character to hear the character say to forget about the Chaos Emeralds.
I'm not sure if I want to say that the story has plot holes, but there are a lot of inconsistencies because the story can go any way you want, so there's really no point in following it.
Someone had told me that this game answers the many unanswered questions that I pointed out in Sonic Adventure 2 when I reviewed that game. The only answer that can be drawn from this game is that Gunn didn't like the idea of Project Shadow and decided to put a stop to it. While not stated, it's probable that Lost Impact happens before the gun raid on the Ark, which is the Doom level. So you can assume that because of the artificial chaos going wild, that Gunn didn't like Professor Gerald's experiments and then decided to put a stop to Project Shadow. But then another question is raised. Why does the Gun commander hate Shadow? It's an irrational hatred. Yeah, he saw Black Doom with Professor Gerald when he was a kid, but that really doesn't justify his hatred. He blamed Shadow for Gunn killing Maria and everyone on the Ark. If we stop there, it could make sense. But he became the commander of Gunn, the same people who conspired to kill everyone on the Ark. That's where his hatred becomes irrational.
The military killed my friends, so I'm going to join them, become their leader, and get revenge on someone who had nothing to do with it. See, doesn't that sound pretty stupid when you hear it out loud?
So what's the real story? Well, Shadow collects the emeralds, probably in a completely unrelated journey. Black Doom tells Shadow that he's a test tube baby created from Gerald from Black Doom's DNA. Oh, would you look at that? Shadow has 2 dads. Shadow saves the world by using the Eclipse Cannon to destroy the Black Comet after defeating Devil Doom, and the President and Gun Commander think of Gerald as a good guy despite the fact that he tried to destroy the planet 2 games ago.
You know what I forgot to talk about? The sound. Probably because I turned a deaf ear to it.
The music is good for the most part. It's very action-packed and only a few tracks fall flat. The best songs are All Hail Shadow, Never Turn Back, and I Am All of Me being the best out of the 3. I don't think the other vocal tracks are that good. But there is one thing that I have to address. The voice acting. Good whatever deity you pray to, if at all, the voice acting is so terrible. I mean, it's downright awful. Every line is delivered very flatly. It's like none of the voice actors cared.
And you guys wonder why I said the voice acting in Sonic 06 was good? Compared to this, Sonic 06 was done by Shakespearean actors.
Kristen Stewart has more emotion than how these voice actors deliver their lines. There is no emotion at all, well, except for Eggman, as Mike Pollock is the only good voice actor in this game. I hate the flashback levels where Maria accompanies you. Her voice is probably the worst out of everyone's. It's the loudest and most high pitch, and she doesn't shut up. Yeah, the other characters talk to Shadow as well, but you know what? They're mute compared to Maria.
Also, on my many dredges throughout YouTube, I would find top 10 worst villains list, and they'd have Eggman on it because he constantly repeats the same line over and over again. And Shadow the Hedgehog was the game that they used as a reference.
That's stupid for 3 reasons. Because it's not the fault of the character, it's the fault of game programming and script writing. The programmer's at fault for setting up scripts for the AI to repeat itself. It's the writer's fault for not having the character have more lines of dialogue for the character for when the same situation happens. And the third reason is because it's stupid that people who put Eggman on their top 10 worst villains list for that reason alone never even considered points 1 and 2. The characters repeat themselves constantly, even more so than they did in Sonic Heroes. It gets to the point where I just no longer care what they have to say or will say. I don't care if they're finally going to say something different. My patience for them has been worn down to the bone. The green gun robots also make an annoying mechanical sound. The gun soldiers only have 3 lines of dialogue that you'll hear all the time. Also, the characters curse, but they only say damn or hell, so it's very mild. But when they say those words, it's very forced. They might as well have not said any curse word at all.
Before I give my rating, I want to give my final thoughts on the game. And I kinda like it. Now, before you get your torches and pitchforks, hear me out.
This isn't that bad of a game. It's better than Sonic Heroes. Yeah, it's cheesy, and I like it in a guilty pleasure sort of way. Aside from the constant freeze-ups, there really aren't any game-breaking glitches that I've come across. The story and voice acting are terrible, but they're laughably bad for the most part. The fully rendered cutscenes at the beginning are well done and are a precursor to the art and animation style that they would use from Unleashed forward. But the core gameplay is fine. It feels like an improved Sonic Heroes. The gunplay is fine as long as you know what weapon to use.
Shadow the Hedgehog is at least playable. Why would you want to? I don't know, but it's not the broken, unplayable mess that is Sonic 06.
Like E.T., I think this game's reputation precedes it. They tried to do something different, and I'll give them an A for effort. But I think that people were just so put off by the game being different that it was quickly dismissed. This is pretty much an example of people saying, they changed it so it sucks. But to me, it's one of those it's so bad it's good type of games. And we all have at least one game that we know is bad, but for some reason we like it, and Shadow the Hedgehog just happens to be mine. I like it because it's bad. I think that if they trimmed down the story and pathways, it would have been much better. Maybe start off at Westopolis, complete one of 3 missions there, and then whichever mission you completed would just be the path that you take without switching, so you'd only have 3 endings. Making it so you only have to play the game 3 times to get the last ending, and that would cut down on the tediousness of the game greatly.
Shadow the Hedgehog is a diamond in the rough. Really deep in the rough, but I do give them credit for trying to do something different, and I was able to tolerate it from start to finish. It's not as bad as people say it is. Sonic 2006 is definitely worse, as that game is an unplayable torture fest.